Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Metal Storm, running on the original NES. Alright. Now this game's primary feature is that you can double tap your jump button, and you can end up on the ceiling. So you have a choice between staying on the ceiling or attacking enemies from the ground. And you know, sometimes they also prefer a specific place to be. See those cool animated tiles that gives the illusion of another layer of scrolling. Oh, sorry, just hitting up or down on the D-pad plus that jump button will switch your gravity, or switch the surface that you cling to. Ooh, my goodness. Yeah, cool little animation for your death explosion. Yeah, you can even shoot up and down, which is not really a normal thing in action games, 2D action games. Not that many games offer that ability. And of course, it's an Irem game, which means it's incredibly difficult. But we'll get through somehow. Yeah, I mean, it does have kind of a Blaster Master aesthetic. And this is sort of Irem at their, well, not quite at their peak. I mean, they were still developing R-Type 2 and other games as well. You know, it's a very futuristic mech world. And there's a good amount of puzzle solving over the idea of being able to flip which surface you're walking on. Ugh. Ah, shoot. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, if you love difficult games, 2D games. Well, I mean, this is difficult, but it's fair, right? It's not like some overly punishing, you know, Mario mod. What? Not thinking. Too slow. Ah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, these are really impressive NES graphics. I mean, the chiptunes aren't the strongest point in the aren't the strongest part of the game, but overall, it's a really cool stuff. And for a while, they after Strider came out in the arcades, there were a lot of games where you could manipulate gravity a bit. Just shows you how influential that game was. And now it's not really the difficulty of the game, it's just me not being very good at puzzle solving. Okay, flip to the ceiling. There we go. Ah, son of a bitch. Yeah, this is like Irem's most puzzle-solving game. Usually they just make straight-ahead action or shmups. This one you do have to think quite a bit about the environment, and that's really where all the challenge is. And you die in at the most 2 hits if you find a power-up. Ah, you grab the power up first. It's been so long since I played this game. Man, I've forgotten everything about it. God, that's so close. Oh, I didn't see a little tiny little particle after me. This is another one of these games that's just kind of lost through time. I thought it was fairly popular. A lot of the Irem games were actually pretty successful. You know, I mean, after you know, releasing Akari Warriors and Akari Warriors 2. I think it was a pretty solid company. You know, R-Type was you know, fascinating for most of us at the arcades at the time, and their home games were you know, pretty well thought of. Well, we missed one power-up, but oh well, that's alright. Oh shoot, I didn't even notice that. Darn it. Oh, well, don't feel bad about not hearing about this game. I mean, there were so many games for the NES. The only reason I even heard of this one was I think there was a feature of it on EGM back in the old days. And, you know, back in these days, when NES games were sold, I mean, you weren't guaranteed, you know, just because a game came out, it wasn't guaranteed that you were going to be able to buy it. You know, the store had to, you know, whatever store that was near you, you know, Toys R Us or KB Toys or whatever, had to stock it. And, you know, in a lot of cases, they didn't keep, like, a stock of a lot of NES games. So yeah, there were plenty of games that came out, maybe that were even popular in different parts of the country, which I never saw them until later on. Like in my area, I never got a chance to buy Maniac Mansion, and that was a pretty popular game. The NES one in particular. Oh my god. Yeah, for me, the only game stores around were, at least in these days, were KB Toys and Toys R Us. You know, Toys R Us was a toy store; it wasn't a game store, so they didn't really stock, you know, that many NES games. You know, they had a wall dedicated to it, but that's it. It wasn't like a, you know, the largest wall in the store. KB Toys, you know, same thing. Like, their games were kept behind the counter, so... Oh, son of a bitch. So yeah, tons of games came out, never heard of them. You know, later on, when more game stores started opening up, or game-dedicated stores, I think the first one in my area was like a Babbage's. But then, you know, since it was a mall store, you know, every game was more expensive than, you know, if you could find it at a toy store. Ugh, son of a bitch. In fact, all of my TurboGrafx games that I bought, I mean, I bought those only because I went to another mall in a different part of the city that had an EP Games, and they were one of the few department stores that sold TurboGrafx games. That's the same place I bought my Saturn, because when the son of a bitch, when the PlayStation 1 came out, the games that I'd played for the PlayStation 1 I wasn't as impressed with as I was the Saturn. Which is funny to think about now. You know, later on the PlayStation library obviously came on its own, and the Saturn library did not. But at the time, you know, I liked the Saturn quite a bit more. And yeah, most places sold the PlayStation pretty easily. Sony was pretty good about distributing the PlayStation. But the Saturn was harder to get. So yeah, I ended up buying my Saturn at EB Games. Shopped there for a long time since it was just a dedicated game store. I think Babbage's went under, and that was bought by GameStop, I think. It's all ancient history. I don't really remember all that well. Jeez, I'm gonna get past as well? Oh my god. But yeah, the controls were like really responsive. I mean, the jumping is spot on. You know, definitely feels like a. It feels more like a Mario game in how well it handles. Sometimes they make these games, you know, with these big mech suits, and then have them controlled, you know, a little heavier with like a little bit more delay. But not so much this game. This game feels like a really sharp platformer. Ah. I know, and every mistake is your own. the game is certainly not to blame if you're doing poorly. If you feel modern get good games, it almost feels like the game is unresponsive at times. You know, like that's how I feel like when I play like a lot of From Software games. There's just times where I'm just like, I can't. It doesn't feel like it parried at the right time or rolled at the right time, or you know, it feels like it's reading my inputs and cheating. But yeah, no, this game doesn't have that problem. This game is all you. You messed up because you didn't tap the button at just the right moment, or let go of the button at just the right moment. Okay, how am I gonna get out of this? Ugh, not fast enough. Damn it. I think that's why I liked Wolong so much. It's just that game was so tight. And everything about that game, the response, the controls, you know, the pairing mechanic, that all worked 100% of the time. If I screwed up, I definitely knew it was me. I know, this game makes me anxious. You know, everything's on a razor wire. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, it is good to like be able to discover new games. And I always find like the weirdest ones. I always find the weirdest ones to play. Like I think the next game we're going to cover is Low G Man, which is sort of the same concept as this game. Again, you know, after Strider Arcade came out, you know, just the idea of having a character that could walk on the ceiling or the floor was like really appealing to a fair number of developers. In this game, it really took advantage of the whole idea. God, that is so hard to do. I wonder if I have to do it from the lower edge first. Maybe? I don't know. I won't be able to do it from there. I have to do it from up there. Ugh. Yeah, the timing's super tight. Oh. Yeah, I can imagine getting really good at this. Getting really good at this game, being able to speedrun it pretty quickly. But that's not me right now. I don't think I was ever that good at this game. I have so little time to switch and move. Unless you grab that power up to give you an extra hit. Maybe that was the intention. Well. Okay, so the first time around you want this one, so you can get the little wave blaster. And then if there's a second time around, you want the other one, so you can get so you can take an extra hit. Whoop. I think it's interesting too. They give you auto fire as a default. A lot of NES games didn't have your character auto fire. I guess they figured the game was hard enough as it is without having you wildly tap the button all the time. And look how big these sprites are. I mean, these are some good-sized sprites. Oh, it starts me here. Wow, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this was like midlife into the NES game. So you know, it was when people had a really good sense of the NES. You know, there was no mystery behind it. You know, Nintendo was still pumping out those MMC chips on a regular basis. Although I don't know if this one used it. I mean, it would have had to, I would think. Just with the graphics being what they are. Oh my god, really? Oh god. Whoa, 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 oh god. Oh, shoot. See, I mean, this is the kind of oddball stuff I wish was on the Nintendo service. Just games you wouldn't normally have been exposed to. I mean, I think we've all kind of played... I think we've all played Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3. And while I like seeing those games on the service again, I don't... You know, I do want to see something new. Like, it was nice seeing Vice on there. Since that's not a game that you typically would run into when people are talking about NES games. But yeah, kind of weird stuff like this that would have been, you know, very, very difficult to get a hold of. I think this is the more interesting stuff to have on the NES service. Ah, son of a bitch. But, you know, you have to have somebody who knows the NES library really, really well to make that pitch and try to get a publisher to allow you to have that game on the platform. You know, and getting the rights to some of these games can be pretty complex. Especially with, you know, companies buying up old IP. You know, maybe they have plans for it, but they don't have, like, immediate plans. Oh, my bad. Not remembering my patterns. This kind of hard game I love. I mean, I'm all about playing this kind of hard game. But like a From Software game, where there's a certain amount of RNG, that kind of makes the game feel a little unfair. That I'm not so much in love with, even though I've played all those games, and multiple times. I still always feel that I'm getting ripped off when I'm playing those. And a lot of times when some of my successes really feel more like luck than anything. And then some games, that are really difficult, really are just based on luck. Like if you're playing like a modern Get Good game. I don't know. Well, I guess. Ah, son of a bitch. I guess something like Dead Cells is not hard enough to be a Get Good game. But you know what I mean. There's games like those 2D roguelite games that just seem to prevent you lots of unfair situations, randomly generated. I don't know if I appreciate that much. Because again, that just feels like cheating. Whereas this game doesn't cheat you. It does give you a really hard time, but it is definitely not cheating. How did I get past this the first time so easily? My goodness. So terrible. But that's why I also like what a lot of indie studios did with From Software-like games like Thymesia. Really love that game. Then recently with Wolong, although Wolong is not from a small studio. By any means. Like I kind of feel that people give From Software a lot of goodwill for Dark Souls 1. And Dark Souls 1 is... I think it's still hard for that company to top that game that they made. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, why don't we stop it there? We got another game to play. Anyway, this is audap. You've been watching Metal Storm, running on the original NES. Yeah, this is an Irem game, 1990. I think it actually hit North America in 91 or 92. Well, I guess maybe that is kind of late NES. I don't know. When did I get my Super Nintendo? I think I got my Super Nintendo in 92 or 93. But anyway, yeah, I would normally say check this out, but there is there's no means to get this game. It hasn't been redistributed digitally at all. It's not part of any collections, which is a real shame. I think at some point in time, hopefully if the rights aren't too hard to get a hold of, we should look at a big Irem collection, especially if they're on NES stuff. I mean, some of their stuff is available. I think Konami has the rights to these old Irem games. Yeah, it might be Taito. I'm not really sure, but yeah, this is a lost gem. Not really anyone to play it, but if you have some means to play it in some way, definitely check it out. It's worth your time. It's a hard game, but it's a good game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream. We'll do Low G Man next.